Hello, happy Christmas. This is the Christmas Day message 2022 from Earl's Cohen Baptist Church. Christmas is a time when we think of what we will give. We may give presents to one another. We may spend time. We may give money even. And during this time leading up to Christmas, I've been thinking about the well-known carol In the Bleak Midwinter, which ends, "What I can, I give him." And it has a description of the things brought to Jesus as gifts, as offerings. The song In the Bleak Midwinter comes from a poem by the Victorian poet Christina Rossetti. The poem and song begin by setting the winter scene. Although Jesus probably wasn't born in December or in winter, In the Bleak Midwinter nevertheless gives us a truth about God and worship rather than perhaps actual historical facts. We may have felt lately that life really does seem bleak, with more people falling into poverty, despite disputes over workers' pay in the UK and ongoing wars around the world. We may agree with Rossetti that the earth stood hard as iron in Jesus's day, in Rossetti's day, and still in our own. Yet Rossetti reminds us that our God heaven cannot hold him, nor earth sustain. Heaven and earth shall flee away when he comes to reign. God was born into our broken world to bring its redemption, its remaking, its recreation. God was born in humble surroundings, perhaps the place where animals were brought in from the cold within a humble first century human home. Rossetti's poem has an extra stanza not included in the song version, where the infant Jesus is satisfied with his mother's milk and is surrounded by the animals who also worship him. Rossetti points out that although he comes from the place of angels, he comes from heaven, he has come down to humble surroundings and now receives the animals' worship. She also emphasizes his closeness to his human mother, who is said to worship him with a kiss. But for me, the most important part of the poem's song is the final verse. What can I give him, poor as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would bring a lamb. If I were a wise man, I would do my part. Yet what I can, I give him my heart. The minor prophets of the Old Testament express God's disgust with the grand but empty gestures when they are mistreating the poor amongst them. So they bring these elaborate sacrifices, but God is not satisfied with that because of how they're treating people around them and how they're not honoring him in that way. In the book of Micah, God tells the people that what he requires of them is that they act justly, love mercy, and walk with him. He requires humility and love from us towards him and to those around us. Luke tells us in the Gospel of Luke that shepherds visited the infant Jesus. He doesn't say that they brought anything with them, but Rossetti imagines them bringing a lamb. Matthew, in his Gospel, tells us that the Magi, or visitors from a faraway country, brought the toddler Jesus gold, frankincense, and myrrh. This was probably to represent his status as king, his role as priest, and to foreshadow his sacrificial death. Gold was a sign of kingship, frankincense was what was burnt in worship, and myrrh was a burial oil. Rossetti admits her own poverty when faced with Jesus Christ. As Jesus himself would later declare, "Blessed are the poor." Whatever our financial status, God encourages us to be spiritually poor, acknowledging our need for him. So perhaps this attitude of poverty is more about being humble than anything else. And there, Christina Rossetti brings a simplicity of worship, coming just as she is, and to worship the Lord Jesus. The gifts the Magi brought a child or toddler was not what we would have expected. And perhaps God is looking for unexpected gifts from us as well this Christmas. In this season where we are particularly seeking God's heart for the future of our church, what would he have us bring? Maybe he wants us to bring a little more of our time as well as our money. Maybe he wants our hearts a little less undivided. Perhaps he wants us to bring a gift we haven't even discovered in ourselves yet, or are only just beginning to discover, something that we can do to serve him that we might not have been doing so far. What does our love for God look like this Christmas? What can I bring Jesus this Christmas and into the new year, poor as I am? What can we bring Jesus this Christmas and new year, poor as we are? Let us bring our devoted hearts.